Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions Sora Luna.
Hello.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
I forgot to put an and after that comma. Oh well. Already, just seconds into the show and it's already going off the rails. I can't be trusted. How was your day today, SkepTock?
It's been an interesting day. Just got back from visiting my dad down in San Antonio. He had a bad spell, and in fact, it got quite serious last Sunday night. But he's pulling out of it and is back to his old self when I left him. So got back yesterday and just have been sleeping most of the time since then. Met my best friend from high school down there, who was also a good friend of my dad. And we all hung out together, played guitar, sang for dad. He just had a great time.
Well, that's good. Is the weather situation there caused any difficulties in terms of you getting around the state? I know it's a big state. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of bad weather in Texas right now. So, I mean, how is that working out for you?
It rained the day. It rained hard and big time thunderstorms the day before we left, and I had actually been out with my friend. He was down here visiting, and we had gone out to see the Kennedy assassination site and all that kind of stuff, and got caught in a pretty serious rainstorm. Lightning hit about 150 feet away from the car. It scared the shit out of us. And just as we were cresting a hill in the middle of a really bad thunderstorm. Anyway, that was about the most exciting thing that happened. But no, mostly it hasn't been too bad. Every once in a while, the area that I live in has a couple of low water areas, and unfortunately, one of them is between where I live and where my grandchildren live, and so sometimes I have to take a circuitous route to get to their house, but it's no more than an inconvenience.
Well, good. That's good. I saw a lot of the stuff with the flooding, and it was pretty serious. I think Dallas got quite a bit of it.
Well, yeah, Dallas is perpetually underbuilt, both in terms of its freeways and its drainage, its allocation of assets and resources for expected population growth. Dallas has never been able to keep up with itself. It's never been able to follow Fort Worth's example, which has always been to be just super overbuilt and 20 years ahead of the process. It's a study in contrast, really.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, weather is just one of those things that always sort of fascinates me. We do have 2 short weather items tonight, so that's something to look forward to. But we
Everybody
have to
talks
suffer
about it, but nobody does anything about it, Harry.
Yeah, I know. We have to suffer through some of the pain of existence before we get to those. Those are palate cleansers for later. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How was your day?
It was good. I killed Cryptic. It's fine.
Okay.
No, 7 days to die, and there's a thing where you ally with each other so you don't hurt each other if you accidentally misfire a gun just killing zombies.
Or on purpose fire.
Yeah. And he was complaining about Sora accidentally doing it to him, so I was like, all right, fine. I hadn't allied with him, so I walked behind him with a shotgun in game and just shot him.
Oh, so you didn't Dick Cheney him in the face. You just
No,
shot him in the back.
I did it from behind, which is the way you're supposed to do it.
Good.
This way there's no witnesses, unless you're cackling. That's what my problem was.
Nice.
But other than that, it's been good.
Okay. Hi, Sora.
Hello.
What the hell is that?
What?
Your icon. Is that some sort of stupid sunfish?
That's some sort of wonderful sunfish. Since you were besmirching them again, I feel like I should...
Again and always.
Don't be fishes.
Just bring them. Look, it's just a little creature living its life. With one brain cell.
It can't even float good. It's like it's a fish and it's got like hardly any jobs and it does all of them poorly.
It's probably like lived since before the dinosaurs were a thing. You know.
Be delicious. Nope. You know.
It eats jellyfish. It doesn't need to be delicious. It just needs to keep them under control.
There you go.
Jellyfish. Don't even get me started on those little
Look
bastards.
at his happy face.
Happy face,
Aw.
devoid of any thought. Sure, we'll
Yeah.
go with either one.
No thoughts, just fluff.
Well,
Ooh,
let's see.
colors.
My thing. What is my thing? Short story. I decided to buy a new razor. I wasn't satisfied with I'm one of those wet shaving people that does not grow a beard. So I wasn't really entirely satisfied
Good man.
with the razor that I had. And it annoyed me that it was made in China. To use
Yes.
something like that made in China every day annoyed me. So I thought, I will dip my toe into another expensive hobby and find myself a much better razor.
And
So
overpriced. Let's overpay for razors.
Let's overpay for a razor. So I got this thing. It was $220, made in America. Super elegant, nice sort of thing. And I watched the video on how you're supposed to use this thing. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And I thought, oh, those look like some good tricks. So the day I was waiting for the thing to arrive, I had my old razor that I hate, but I ended up shaving the way they did in the video. And I ended up getting one of the best shaves I've ever had. And I was like so annoyed that
Damn it! If I'd only shaved like this from the beginning.
yeah. No, I'm actually really interested in the new thing. It's kind of cool. I won't bore
like
you with the
a-
details of it, but it is.
Is it a
There
safety
are
razor?
well, it's a safety razor in the sense that there is a guard on it. Yeah, it's not a straight razor without a guard, but you can. There's all kinds of different razors. I didn't realize there was a whole corner of YouTube which is just dudes doing razor reviews. This is a thing apparently.
Sure.
So it's
Oh, yeah.
like, here's
Of course.
this is how we shave our neck. This is how we shave the top of our head. And there's like all these guys, and they're influencers. They're just like, they live in the dream. They're razor influencers. So they get free razors
sure.
from companies, and then they convince people like me to spend $220 on a razor I apparently didn't need. But such is life.
Harry, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you ever strop your safety razor? Do you ever strop
No.
it?
I actually
Okay.
did buy a strop, and
Yeah.
I've sort of toyed with the idea of doing it, but the
Let
blades on
me
the
tell you
old
something.
one didn't make
Let me tell
sense for this. But the new one I have actually uses something called an Artist Club blade, which is a single blade, which is thicker. I could strop that. Go ahead.
Well, here is something you can do if you want to rejuvenate your old. If you got one of those Gillette 4-bladed super razors, and the thing is start feeling kind of dull after a week of shaving with it. Find some old blue jeans. You have to use denim for this. That's the key to this. And rub the razor. Just literally rub the razor on the jeans so that the blades don't catch. But all you're doing is taking little tiny bumps and stuff out of it. Get an old pair of blue jeans. You don't mind if you cut up a little bit, and just drag it across. And you only have to do it 7 or 8 times. And it's like shaving with an almost new blade. And and if you do that, your blades will last for 6 months, 9 months. It's absurd how long they last. And you keep getting the almost new shave every time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been doing that for years.
You need to mute and check your audio stuff. Where you're getting interference, you've got a loose cable or
Okay.
something.
Yep, that's it. Sorry.
All right. I'll let you do that. But razors are fun. Just another way for Harry to spend a bunch of money. But it's important. I have to put my best foot forward. Every now and then I have to meet customers in person. And you iron your shirt. You shave with a fresh blade to make sure your hair is touched up. I mean, I have meetings like that occasionally. It's not all
Sure.
just staying home in my shorts eating macaroni and cheese on the sofa like an in stage Miles Davis.
No, you go full sloppy. You go full
Yeah.
sloppy. Just
No, I have to actually go out and be an adult sometimes. All right.
Sweet Jesus.
So we
That sounds
actually have
horrible.
I know. We have a ton of stuff. Let's dive into it if we are ready here.
Do it.
Okay. Let's do this. Perfect. Okay. So as you know, the affidavit for the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago came down. And I was listening to them talk about the stuff that's in this affidavit, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. Let me play this little clip from NBC News, and then we can have a little discussion.
Sometimes some of the reasons why it's classified.
Tom, before we go into those reasons, I want to make sure that we also have the full picture here with our special report on NBC Network. I'm following this reporting that you've put in the system. Let's go.
So loud.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good day, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news about the recent FBI search of former President Donald Trump's Florida estate. The affidavit that was used to obtain the search warrant has just been publicly released. A judge yesterday. Now, the government filed a redacted copy of that affidavit, so there's still a lot of information in it that will remain hidden as it could reveal sources and hamper the justice.
Now, when they talked about it being redacted, I was thinking about in the Victorian age how a well-turned heel could be considered erotic. You know, because that's about all we're getting of this thing.
Yeah.
We're not looking up the skirt of this thing at all. All we're getting is just a peek at the heel. It's like almost why even bother putting out the affidavit. But anyway, this isn't the salient point. We're getting there.
Justice Department's investigation.
Oh, wait a second. This switched to a different video. Now it's 40 minutes long. Let me not play all of that. Holy cow, the world changed on me.
On purpurpose.
Yeah,
Like, let's mess with Harry.
Yeah, maybe let's mess with Harry. We're not playing 40 minutes of Lester Holt. In the affidavit, one of the things that they mentioned was that, oh yeah, previously we went in and found confidential materials. And then they made the following statement, and we have reason to believe that if we look again, there will be evidence of them trying to cover up the fact that they have these things or hide them from us. Obstruction is what they said. Now, it was one of those things where your brain, you kind of go, okay, A, B, C, K. Like, how did you get from we went in before, they let us look around, we found things, to we have to go in with the search warrant, otherwise they may be hiding something. Because
if they were hiding something, they wouldn't have let you in the first place.
Yeah,
but okay.
Exactly. But the justification for the search warrant wasn't just that he had these materials, because he had them, right? We know there's weapons of mass destruction there. That kind of thing. So they had them and he was cooperating, but apparently they just threw this in the warrant. Oh, well, he's going to, we have to just go in there right now, with the guns out and the flashing lights and all the agents. And we've got to go through Melania's underwear drawer, because who knows what could be in there.
Is Eisenhower's? No, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
It's just the treatment of him. It's like, I'm not a Trump fanboy. I'm really not. I'm a radical centrist. There's plenty of things I don't like about Trump, but I wouldn't want to see any person, whether they're political or not, treated this way by law enforcement. There's no basis for this based on that. I mean, maybe somewhere in all the redacted stuff, there's actual proof of something, but I bet you there isn't.
Well, I mean, they keep doing what they always do, which is they move the goalposts. Oh, it was nuclear codes. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's this.
Yep.
Oh, it's that. Oh, it's this. And it's like, it's once again, this goes back to the rant I always do, which is if you all would just ignore him, he would go away. Like, stop giving them shit so this way he can feed off of it and get bigger. It's like the ghost from, was it Ghostbusters 2? That fed off negative emotions and just got worse. Like, that's what this is. Like, that's what Trump is.
Vigo.
Like, it's that thing of like, he just feeds off of this. Why y'all are bullies? You should know this shit by now. Like, it's just, it seems like someone's just really stupid. Like, that's all it is.
Well, that's what they tell us, right? I've never met Donald Trump.
Same.
But everything that they tell us via the media is that he's some sort of out of control horn dog narcissist, right?
Yeah. 90%
The reality of him may actually be not as bad as all that. I mean, I know there's probably some of it. We see just the stuff that he does himself, right? His little spoken word 2.5 hour jam sessions that he does with 100,000 of his fans. There's enough of him just putting himself out there to get a pretty good flavor of it. But I think he's still somewhat maligned. I'm trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because there's just so all in on going after the guy.
Can I say something here?
Please.
He can be an asshole and still be treated unfairly. Both those statements can be true, and I think they are. I think the guy is a jerk in many ways. The hopeful thing about him is that he isn't owned by anybody and might be able to dismantle some of the liberal foolishness that we've managed to accumulate in government. That's the hope of conservatives. But in point of fact, Donald Trump is not a nice man. He doesn't even pretend to be a nice man. He's just a full-blown, balls to the wall, egotistical guy who personally has some patriotic feelings for the United States, believes he does. And that's one of the major things that motivates him and makes him attractive to conservatives. He's pro-business, but he's also a big government Republican. He's not just a big government Republican. He's a anything Trump wants Republican, and that's where I think he's potentially a loose cannon.
Yeah. Well, I was feeling nostalgic seeing all this stuff go on, so I thought I would maybe put this in context, because everybody has brought up the whole thing about, well, what about Hillary? And it's like, to my mind, well, what about Hillary? So here's a little video talking about how Hillary Clinton's private email server worked. This is from CNN, so you know it's going to be totally accurate. And I will not have to pause and scream at them for being technically illiterate at any point during this video.
Oh, it's got 17 million. Is that 17 million views or 17,000?
17,000, because nobody gives a crap about CNN. But here's some Hillary Clinton apologia.
You probably heard by now, Hillary Clinton never had a State Department email address. She only had a personal one so personal that she kept an email computer.
Which is so shockingly against the rules, it's not even funny. But I won't interrupt anymore.
Computer server registered to her home in Chappaqua, New York. Why would she do that? We'll get to that later. Let's start with how. First, you buy a computer. Then you do some insanely difficult network programming.
So hard.
It's not that hard.
It's
not that hard.
Cannot believe how
Serenity,
complex that is.
It's incredibly hard.
You have
That
to be
S
an
in
Einstein.
SMTP doesn't stand for simple. It stands for super complicated.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
So we have
No,
one
it's
of those
okay.
things for my work, because
Yeah,
we
most
things
medical.
on a server. we
Yeah.
have got 2 of them actually.
Well,
Like,
I'm actually
Jesus.
restructuring my DNS stuff right now to save a little money and improve it. And I pulled out one of those little Intel NUCs, the little thing that's about the size of about maybe 3 decks of playing cards. And I'm using that. I just put Ubuntu server on it, and I'm using that as a utility server while I reshuffle a bunch of virtual machines. It doesn't take a lot. You could run a mail server on that with no problem. But anyway.
Download special software and start tinkering with your computer's software ports, like the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol.
I know.
Then you need to connect to something called a
The
local host
Simple
database.
Mail Transfer
Rename the configuration files.
Yeah.
Open them up with a
Okay. The fact that
My
Are they-
God.
Are they implying that she did this?
Well, no,
By
we'll get to that. I just keep interrupting because this is dumb. The fact that it's a config.php file makes me just want to scream. This is just
Yeah.
all wrong. This is an example of how you would configure a PHP web app as a client of an SMTP server. This isn't how you set up an SMTP server. I know, I'm a nerd. I don't care.
Yeah.
text
like,
editor
even I know
and start
that.
changing
Okay, well, no, you
values,
did.
entering the proper domain name, SMTP
Oh
server
my.
address,
All these
IMAP
complicated
server
things
address,
you don't know
get the
anything
idea. Or you use a data center. Either way, unless Clinton is a secret tech guru, she probably didn't do this on her own. There are only 2 kinds of people who want a private email server. IT geeks, and the people who worry about governments and companies spying on their mail. When you sign up for personal email accounts, your messages are normally kept on computer servers at giant data centers owned by companies like Google and Yahoo. The same is true for your work email. In Clinton's case, her emails should have lived on computer servers at the State Department, except they didn't. Now to the why. It's more private. That's it. Anyone who wants Clinton's emails will have to go through her first.
Or fishing expedition.
It is a massive, massive, massive violation of government protocol and rules. The fact
Clinton's
that
private
she
email
had
ser-
enough juice that she was able to get away with it is actually kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, no how she should have ever been able to, as a government employee, be able to set up her own private server at her house and have classified and above top secret information sent to an unsecured mail server in her house. And I know this is old news, but the point is that Trump could declassify documents all he wants. There's some debate about whether you can undeclassify a document of a former president. That, I'm setting it aside. That's a Jonathan Turley thing, not a Harry Channel thing. But I can tell you that the level of willful malfeasance here is off the freaking charts. I mean, people spend time in jail for stuff like this. Often. For less than this. Okay. Sorry, Skep, I feel like you want to say something.
I was going to say that if a general, any general, had done what Hillary Clinton had done and had kept classified information on a home server, that they would have lost their career and been court-martialed. Only Hillary Clinton could get away with this. This is so outrageous. It's so against the rules. It's so against every particle you're ever taught about keeping government secrets, keeping confidential, secret, top secret information. It's freaking.
Yeah, it is pretty
I
amazing.
am absolutely gobsmacked.
Well, this is, for anybody who wasn't paying attention, this is what happened. So Bill Clinton, as one does, went out and had a little meeting out on the tarmac with Loretta Lynch, who was the Attorney General at the time. Because this is totally appropriate. His wife is under investigation. So why not go to one of the few places on the planet where they can't really readily be recorded?
Help with the investigation, right?
Oh, well, they were probably talking about, I don't know, their kids or yogurt or ballet or something.
Sure.
You know, all those things that were in all those emails that got bleach bitted that were part of the subpoena.
Favorite butt plugs. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
I think actually, I think not testimony, obviously, but the statement is that they were talking about their kids, which we all know is what allegedly is BS. But that was their statement, that they were talking about their children.
Can you read this paragraph, please?
Me?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. The meeting between Lynch and Clinton took place in June 2016 while the FBI was investigating Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. Bill Clinton boarded Lynch's plane while it was on the tarmac at Phoenix Skies Harbor International Airport. God, what a name. The following month, then FBI Director James Comey announced the Bureau would not recommend, sorry, my dyslexia kicked in, that the Department of Justice pursue charges in the email probe. Comey has testified before Congress that Lynch asked him to refer to the probe as a matter, a request that made him feel queasy. I'm sorry it made you feel queasy.
I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of Comey, but he, in a lot of ways, was, let's just assume good faith on his part. It's not there, but I'm going to assume it for the sake of argument. He's a guy trying to do his job, and like his boss, the husband of somebody that he was investigating, went and had a private meeting, and as private as you can get. It's hard to have a more private meeting than on the tarmac at the airport in a private plane with nobody else around, and no way of using a shotgun microphone because of all the noise, right?
Right.
This is cone of silence bullshit that they're pulling, okay?
Yep.
And then suddenly, you're trying to do your job, and this kind of shenanigans is going on. I mean, they don't call him Slick Willie for nothing. This is a problem. But of course, Trump, who was cooperating with an investigation, all of the assets were there, locked up at his house. he deserves to have the 5-0 come rolling up and do all this sort of stuff. It's absolutely pure, bald, unadulterated political bullshit.
Yes, it is exactly. Where is the investigation into the Clintons after all the shenanigans they and their people have pulled? And there has not been one lick of investigation in any of that nonsense. The Clintons are as corrupt as it is possible to be in this country. I do not understand why they escape investigation. I think this whole raid on Mar-a-Lago is stupid and pointless as well. I don't think they're going to get anything that is going to hang President Trump, and I think that's what they're after. They just want anything they can throw at the Republicans. So it's a purely political raid, and the politicization of the FBI is a big fucking problem.
Yeah. They should have had a special master, even if they needed to do this. They should have had a special master assigned at the time. But that's not what they want. What they want to do is rifle through all these boxes, publicly leak, because this is what they do. They just leak. They leak like a freaking sieve. They leak everything whenever they want to. Why not just leak it, right? So they're going to leak the information. Then somebody's going to say, well, we should prosecute him based on that. Trump's attorneys will get it thrown out because they should, and it should be thrown out. And not even getting into the was it classified or not part of it. Just the whole thing is going to get thrown out. But it'll be in the court of public opinion, and it will basically be there as a taint to make it harder for him and the midterm Republicans. That's all it is. They don't care if he ends up going to jail. All they want to do is just win at any cost. They don't care about anything else. Because there's money to be given away to their friends. Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. Anyway, not to beat a dead Clinton horse here too much longer, but this was sent to me, and I think it was, who sent this thing to me? The thing about the eating bugs and the parasites? Yes. Did you want to talk about this?
I mean, I can talk about it a little bit. Some of it's a little slightly over my head, but I get what they're getting at. But it's essentially that a doctor called out the whole eating bugs thing on Twitter, and then linked a study which they haven't taken down yet, which I'm still amazed they haven't taken down yet, which basically says, I think it's 40% of all bugs have parasitics within them that can cause harm to humans. So actually eating bugs is not safe, and it's not a good way to get protein.
Yeah. Also, let me say this about that. Virtually every insect that exists has parasitic organisms inside it. It's essentially all of them, 100% of them.
Well, we cook other kinds of food too. I mean, it seems like it's a little bit prejudiced here because like they're trying to make a point, right? They're trying to, chicken, pork, beef. Yeah. There's all sorts of animals that you have to, when you kill them, you have to prepare them a certain way to keep contamination from being an issue. And then you have to cook it. Pufferfish are a bitch, but you take out the intestines and anything that's going to cause a bacterial problem. There's things you do to make it safe to eat. Humans, so if you take some sort of grub, and big old fat juicy grub, and you're starving to death, and it's a survival situation, and you roast that thing, you're going to be fine. It kills off the bacteria just like with just about anything else. But you don't go for them al dente or raw.
Hang on, Harry. There's two parts to that.
Yeah.
You can kill the bacteria, but if it's made if it's already created enough toxin in what you're eating, enough, and typically toxin is is a combination of natural things produced by the bacteria and the waste product of the bacteria from metabolizing things. If you have that accumulation in that, you have to be careful. And there are plants in which toxic chemicals accumulate, and that is largely through the agency of bacteria.
Well, if you go back to one of the earlier Everybody Be Scared and Piss Yourself books was it The Population Bomb? Was that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Paul
so
Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich.
Yeah, so in the Population Bomb, they talk about all these different ways that if we go over the 3.5 billion people that we had, all the bad things that were going to happen. And I remember reading that book as a little kid because I just would read anything on the bookshelf, and that was probably a mistake. That book disturbed me. I wasn't mature enough to process what was going on. Don't read books about an actual apocalypse when you're little. Anyway, so if you look at where food comes from, I understand sort of the too smart by half thinking that these idiots have come up with. It takes a certain amount of grain to make so many pounds of meat, right? So it's much more efficient just to eat the grain if you're trying to feed lots of humans. Well, why stop there? We'll keep working our way down the food chain and just get our protein from something really simple like grasshoppers. Except I don't want to. I don't want to eat cricket flour, and I'm not going to. They're not. Klaus Schwab isn't planning on eating any cricket burgers anytime soon. That's just for the peons. It's just disturbing to me. I don't like this the way this study is being talked about because it seems like it's kind of propaganda to put it there. It seems a bit disingenuous because of course they have parasites, right? Of course they have parasites. Almost everything we eat, we end up having to cook. And of the stuff that we eat raw, we rinse that stuff off. And then some of the time we end up getting E. coli and getting sick anyway.
Right.
You know, even spinach is trying to kill us.
Well, yeah, I can eat stuff out of my garden, and if I haven't washed it off, I run a risk.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also the fact that the parasites, in order to kill them, I think some of the bugs that they're talking about that are the edible insects, if they're cooked, they turn to nothing. Like it makes all of their nutritional value go. Pfft. So it's that thing of if you cook them to get rid of the parasite, then it's nothing. But then if you don't cook them, you have the parasite. So you have to deal with the parasite. And it's this whole it's basically it's like everything every vegan wants, which is it to be grown in a fucking lab. We're gonna have bugs that are just grown in labs, and that's basically what I think is gonna happen. But that's my stance on it.
You know, I can tell you, here's my recommended way of eating bugs. Pass them through the digestive system of a chicken and turn them into poultry. That's the best way to eat bugs.
There you go.
Yeah, just get some chickens, have some eggs. It'll be fine. We already have a system for eating bugs. It's called a chicken.
Yep.
It's fine.
And on a similar note to this story, I just got a thing from a friend of mine on Tumblr. Apparently, in the UK now, there are 6 insect species that can now be legally sold to consume there.
I'm sorry, how many?
6. Let me see if I can find out what they are.
What?
too
This
many.
does not please me.
Are you going to tell me, Vice? Come on, damn it. I hate
Going
Vice.
for the quality.
What? You want them to do the work?
Are we gonna have cricket milk? Because it's really hard to milk a cricket.
I think someone actually has tried to come up with a way to make milk from crickets. I think someone actually has, if I remember right.
Oh,
It's Vice. They just keep going on and on and on and on about bullshit, and it's like they don't even tell what the 6 species are. Fuck you, Vice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you
those
people.
clickbait articles are like that.
See, this is somebody who talks. Yeah, not recommended. But
I've
if you're
had
doing-
I've
You
had
like 'em?
cricket flour in a protein bar out of curiosity to try it out.
I
Did
ate
you
2
jump
live
higher
crickets.
afterward?
No, but my mother made me feel very guilty because she likes crickets a lot. So she made me feel very guilty about it.
You know,
I
insects are
I
dicks.
ate 2 live crickets when I was in college.
Oh,
They deserved it.
No, it was actually for extra credit on a midterm on political systems of Africa. I kid you not.
That's
Our
awesome.
professor brought the crickets in a jar. So he said we snacked on these when I was a kid, and lots of other bugs. And He said he'd give 10 points to anybody who'd eat one. And 2 people volunteered. The other person chickened out. I was the only one who ate one. And I crunched on it. And he said, "What do you think?" I said, "It's not bad." And he said, "Would you like another?" I said, "I certainly would." I asked him, "Would I get double credit?" He said, "No." But he gave me the full 10 points and I got an A.
Nice.
So I have found it, what they are. But apparently it's part of the EU transition agreement with the UK, which is weird. But anyway, it's the lesser mealworm, the house cricket, the yellow mealworm, banded or decorated cricket, migratory locust,
Mm-hmm.
and the black soldier fly.
Oh, I wouldn't want to eat a fly.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
wouldn't
that
want to eat
is
a locust either.
I
Ugh.
feel like those would definitely have some sort of
They do.
Like
They do.
nasty.
They have some very well established parasites in fly and digestive tracts.
I just
Trust
thought it
me.
was weird. It was part of the EU transition agreement. That's the thing that's like weird to me beyond eating the bugs. Because at this point, I'm just like, meh. But it's just like, mer? Like, why is that part of why?
Okay. Well, the next thing is something I need functional to be here for. So I am going to stay with this for a moment. Let's see. So let's see. I think I need a visual aid. Okay. So here's California, sort of with some notes explaining where all the pieces are. So if you look at the part down at the bottom where it says Mars and nice but expensive, there used to be natives who would live down here. And one of their primary sources of food was harvesting like fly larvae from the edge of lakes. It's actually fairly common in places where food is not abundant to eat, for natives to eat them. And it's part of their culture. So they're not all wigged out about it like we are. I think ant larvae are in some Mexican cooking as escamoles. So I know a certain amount of it's just sort of cultural stuff. And this is all I'm going to say nice about it. I am not going to eat insects to make some idiot in Switzerland with like who's stroking his cat and living in his evil lair, some Bond villain asshole. I am not going to eat this crap just because some Bond villain elitist douchebag thinks that I need to, or Greta or anybody else.
How dare you?
I know.
Greta's irrelevant now. She don't matter no more. She has lost her relevance because she is no longer, and as disgusting as it is for me to say this, we all know it's true. She's not underage anymore, so she doesn't matter anymore.
Ooh, spicy, provocative.
Yes.
Something Harry would say if he...
All right, let's move on to the next thing. There was another story. Vanessa Bryant, the widow of Kobe Bryant, who died with a bunch of other people in a helicopter crash a few years ago, was awarded $16 million in a trial because some of the first responders and other emergency personnel who showed up at the scene took pictures of the crash site and capitalized on them. And so the claim is that it
to be made whole from that.
Yeah, that's sort of my question. Let me play the video. Let's just see if we can do this without too many technical problems here.
As long as it doesn't change
over
the video.
graphic photos taken of the helicopter crash that killed her husband, LA Lakers star Kobe Bryant, her 13-year-old daughter, and 7 others. Here's CBS's Carter Evans.
The jury sided with Vanessa Bryant, awarding her $16 million and an additional $15 million to the relative of 2 other crash victims. Vanessa Bryant sued Los Angeles County after it was revealed first responders had taken and then shared graphic photos of the scene where Kobe, daughter Gianna, and 7 others were killed in a helicopter crash more than 2 years ago. Last week, Vanessa Bryant cried on the stand, saying she felt blindsided, devastated, hurt, and betrayed, and now lives in constant fear the photos will appear online.
She had a terrible, terrible thing happen to her. Okay. I just can't imagine in the big scheme of things that this was the most important thing going on, or really that big a deal compared to the big thing that happened. So it's like having a 500-pound weight on your back and then somebody puts like a little 10-pound weight on there too, just to sort of add it up. And then that ends up being $16 million, which, unlike Amber Heard, she actually is supposed to be giving this money to charity. So
we'll see.
it wasn't necessary. Yeah, I know. We'll see. I mean, she's got enough money that she's got Kobe money. She's not, she can give this money to charity and not even feel it. That's not going to be a problem for her.
True. It's one of those things where it's kind of like, they say it's graphic photos, but it's like, and I don't want to see them, but it's like, was it actually graphic photos, or was it just people going, look at this shit? Like, what is the actual nature of the actual photographs?
Well, it's definitely, well, they were at work, okay? And I take this whole thing, when you're at work, it's like, you don't take a knee when you're at work. There's things you don't do at work. You're there to do a job. And to take time out to try to personally gain from something like that, I find to be really terrible. I mean, I think these people should be punished in some way because it's completely inappropriate and probably against all kinds of rules.
Well, the thing is,
firing, unpaid time off, whatever that's supposed to be. But I'm not really sure how this turns into $16 million because, as Skep already alluded to, how is this $16 million going to make her whole? How does this fix the problem? But you finish Serenity, and then I'll let Skep talk.
Well, the thing is like, they didn't say that they tried to sell them to the paparazzi. They just said they shared them amongst themselves.
But they ended up online. That's the problem.
Which I kind of get, but once again, she's saying if they'll show up online, which means they're still only sharing it among themselves. It doesn't make it right, but from the way stuff is worded in the news program, it wasn't done for the purpose of selling. It was done for the purpose of gallows humor, holy shit kind of thing.
Last time to get a selfie with Kobe.
Basically.
Yeah, basically.
But that's the thing, like, I don't like what they did, but at the same time, because let's face facts, if they were going to sell them, those things would have been on TMZ in an hour if they were. So if they made money off the photos, I can understand getting the 16 million because it's taking the money away from them going, no, fuck you. You don't make money off my husband's death. But nothing, at least in the news broadcast, is alluding to the fact that they sold anything or even posted them on a public online thing. Like, personally, as an asshole, I would be like, oh, whoopsies, my phone got stolen and it showed up now. Now deal with it, bitch. Like, if I was an asshole, like, that's the way I would be. Like, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, they didn't end up online. What now, sweetheart? Like,
well, she's got $16 million to
well, she also has a tendency to be histrionic too. Like, she has a history of doing this shit and then getting a very pretty ring from Kobe when she cries enough, but that's not. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of her. But he's
got
not
high maintenance written all over her.
Oh God! But sorry, go ahead, Skep, because I'm going to because I will judge this woman in a heartbeat.
The thing that got me was the size of the award.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That money is coming from taxpayers. I don't think that there is any way that anything can make this person whole. Another 16 million or 30 million or whatever isn't even going to mean that much to her. If she gives the money to charity, this is essentially asking the taxpayers in that area, the taxpayers who support that police department, to say, hey, we want to give you this money and then you can use it any way you want. You can either keep it or give it to charity, do whatever. That is a burden on the tax base. And $17 million has a lot of opportunity cost associated with paying out. $17 million has a lot of opportunity costs associated with it. Rather than paying it to the widow of Kobe Bryant, what could the police department have done with that $17 million? Now, I realize it's insurance, so you would take basically a pro rata portion of the premiums, but it's still a healthy amount to get that done. And ultimately, when insurance company payouts like this happen, that represents a cost to consumers even more broadly than just the local taxpayers who are being deprived of $17 million worth of police services.
Yeah. Well, they can go down and civil asset forfeiture shakedown people to get the new coffee machine they need. So,
But I'm being dead serious about this. I just think that's an awful award. That tort law needs to get looked at.
right. And that some other family of another victim got 15 million as well. So it's actually 31 million that the taxpayers are paying, not just the 16.
Yay, 31 million. Lovely.
In a state that's already taxed way too much to begin with.
Yeah, well,
my personal opinion.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no
Gary.
kidding. Yeah, we'll just take 10% of everything you make. That'll be fine. This is fine.
And then
okay,
tack another
so
$10,000 onto it.
on to something a little lighter. Oscar Mayer to sell cold dog, hot dog flavored popsicles.
That'll make Monkey happy.
Yeah, it says a hot dog flavored frozen pop, stupid or genius.
So is it like hot dog water flavored?
Well, that's
or
an excellent question. They don't
because
really
someone
supply a lot
here
of information.
We had a local guy who a couple years back trying to prove he did a performative art thing that says to try to prove that people believe anything they'll read. He was selling hot dog water, claiming it had medicinal purposes, including increasing your electrolytes and making your energy higher. So he was actually selling this at a food fair here. And the whole thing is just like, oh, see, people just fall for any advertising. And yet he still sold out, so he still made bank, but
Well, it says here, the popsicle dubbed the cold dog is being sold for $2 at frozen desserts company Pop Bar locations in New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Long Beach. Oscar Mayer said in a press release, it visibly resembles a hot dog topped with mustard and has smoky umami notes of Oscar Mayer's iconic wiener.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
So this is like the macaroni ice cream all over again. This is just a pop-up, create buzz, we make it go away now.
Yep. And I just like bringing this stuff up so that you guys just die a little bit inside each time it happens, you know.
I love that they say Oscar Mayer's iconic wiener as opposed to the other less iconic, his other few less iconic wieners.
Yeah. Yeah. Good times. What a great time to be alive. Unfortunately,
Savory popsicles.
Functional's too tired from gaming to be on tonight, so he doesn't get to enjoy this particular story. But, though I digress.
Enjoy Oscar Mayer's wiener.
Yeah. So, I found this terrible, terrible article on this NPR thing called Life Kit. Which, I heretofore had no idea this terrible thing existed. This particular article is called Why You Should Stop Complimenting People for Being Resilient.
Fuck you.
Hey, Sora, can you see this okay?
Yes.
Would you mind reading the first 3 paragraphs there?
Bet it's racist.
Starting at but or the ability? Okay. The ability to overcome and adapt to difficult life situations seems like an overwhelmingly positive thing, right? After all, being called strong, tenacious, or resilient is usually perceived as a compliment. But what if glorifying resilience can actually be detrimental? For example, take the strong black woman stereotype. According to Professor Inger Burnett-Ziegler, author of Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, The Emotional Lives of Black Women, internalizing that trope can often interfere with Black women acknowledging their mental health challenges and then going on to get the mental health treatment. So we revisited the concept of resilience with Lourdes Dolores Follins, psychotherapist and licensed clinical social worker. She explains why it's okay to let yourself feel angry or frustrated sometimes, and how unexamined resilience can mask structural forces that make your life harder.
How unexamined resilience can mask structural forces that make your life harder. It's like, hey, how dare you not think I'm a victim? What do you mean?
Hey, is your
accusing
life
me
a
of
little
coping?
too easier? To feel too easy? In fact, you are indeed a victim.
That's right.
Well,
How about we put your life on hard mode?
What's like the strong black woman bullshit? You want to know who started the trope of the strong black women? Black women.
Yeah.
Every single piece of media that they put out was about how strong and powerful they were. Bite me.
They've got good PR.
Which I don't understand why suddenly that's a problem, because I think isn't that something you'd want to sort of like promote
Because they have to be
independence?
So
they have to be
naive.
strong all the time, and that's not fair to them because they have to be strong all the time and not talk about how white people are to blame for everything. Wait, they do that. Never mind. Like, it's just complete bullshit.
Well,
It's kind of
we
like I saw. Sorry.
Well, we talk about how there's a certain group of people that sort of capitalize on black folks by trying to marginalize them, make them feel like they're less, make them feel like they're other, make them feel helpless, so that they need somebody to come along and essentially sort of, pardon the phrase, white knight for them all the time.
Yeah.
You need somebody to help you. You may think that you're resilient, but really you're just masking therapy. And your resilience is covering up all of the unfairness of the world, all of the structural racism and other problems in society. So how dare you be resilient? And this is just from the same mind of these people that talk about being on time is oppressive whiteness and other stupid ideas. It's ideas so dumb that I didn't think a human being could have them until I was confronted with these words. In my imagination, I couldn't imagine somebody thinking that this would be a bad thing, but apparently I'm just short-sighted.
Well, it's also kind of like, there's a lot of hand wavy and saying stuff, but not actually doing anything. It's kind of like there was Tyler Perry, who's Medea for, depending on how white everybody is. But he built his, one of the big things he talks about is he built his film studio on a Confederate battlefield. And it's kind of like, okay, what about all that money you have, asshole? How about you give that back to the black community? Oh, never mind. Can't do that. Oprah? No, can't do that either. Football players? No, can't do that. Basketball players? Nope, can't do that.
It gets suddenly quiet, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like amazing how it's like.
Because the thing is, we're not saying like the other side is doing any better, but you know that they're silent or if they, however it is to do, it's just like, the loudest voice is not actually doing anything.
Yeah, it's like I've had friends who've worked at the this is allegedly, I'm going to stress this, Susan, allegedly, who've worked at the Tyler Perry studios as carpenters, and they say it's hell. They say it sucks. Like they don't get paid enough for anything, allegedly. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like they create a trope, and then they get pissed when that trope becomes overreaching, because they don't want to be, air quotes, whatever that trope is anymore. And then they try to change the trope, but then they still want to be called strong, but then they don't want to because it doesn't work in this situation. It's just classic manipulator crap, where it's like, in this situation, you're going to call me this, but until it's no longer working for me, and then I get to change the rules on you, and you don't know, and then I make you feel like a piece of shit. That's the reason why you walk away.
Yep. Yeah, let's just try to make sure that people don't shake loose the dependence. We don't want you to be independent or strong or self-assured or, God forbid, resilient.
What I love about this is that they state in this article, it says that in this book, internalizing that trope, the trope of you being resilient, quote, can often interfere with Black women acknowledging their mental health challenges and then going on to get the mental health treatment. Backed up by what statistic? What studies have been done on this? Where did they isolate that this often interferes? What percentage of the time does it interfere? To what extent does it interfere? What are the results of that interference? How big is the delta from the results that they would have had if it had not interfered? That is an extremely inexact, and it's just a baseless assertion.
I would be interesting to find out because I've seen quite a lot of like videos and shorts and stuff on YouTube where people from the Black community talking about how growing up mental health was not talked about. If you brought it up, it was it was a taboo subject, and a lot of people feel uncomfortable going to a therapist that's a different race from them because they don't know how, if they would understand them on the level they want to discuss, which I can see where that problem is coming from, and how it's we're not even talking about the people who want to be victimized, but just your standard person. Hey, I grew up in this kind of neighborhood, and I was the only person of my race there, and it was horrible. If I talk to say a white person to a Black individual talking to a white doctor, do I feel 100% secure that they would even begin to empathize with me? So I can see where that's coming from. But shouldn't that, I mean, I feel like that should be more the push than something like this stupid thing, like how, we shouldn't glorify resilience. Oh, maybe you should, but at the same time say, okay, I'm glad you're strong, but however, you shouldn't be like this. Let's talk about mental health instead, not this crap. Like it feels like this will actually be detrimental in the long run.
What's like, you still need to raise up and say resilience is a good thing. It's when you get stubborn and it's teaching people to differentiate between just knuckling down and just not accepting the fact that there may be something wrong with you, and then going, okay, there's something that I either can't get taken care of right now, or there's something else right now that needs to be dealt with. It's bigger. So I need to get through this right now, and I will deal with this afterward. Mm-hmm. And it's that thing. It's all that kind of stuff. But I found out what her background is. Haha.
Oh. What is it?
She is a licensed clinical psychologist and associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Finberg School of Medicine and Northwestern University. She has she has 2 decades of clinical experience helping people with stress, trauma, mood, and anxiety conditions and interpersonal strain. In her clinical practice, she promotes holistic wellness through mindfulness and compassionate self-care. The last bit is this is the Ziegler lady. And Inger's scholarly work focuses on the role that social detriments of health play in mental illness and treatment, particularly in the Black community. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like she's supposedly got the background for it, but at the same time, it's kind of like,
she's seeing the world through a particular lens, basically.
Yeah.
Arguing from authority does not justify a baseless statement.
Yep.
Keep that in mind for later, by the way.
Hint, hint. From Mary, hint, hint.
All right, so there's some more cancer. This next thing is even worse and probably even more of a long
asteroid.
Also from Life Kit, how to talk to kids about radicalization and the signs of it. This is beautiful.
Oh Lord.
We can take turns reading this horrible thing. I, Barry Hardiman, that's the author, I'm the parent of 2 kids, 8 and 11, and there's something truly terrifying that creeps into my consciousness every time I see another tragedy, like the kind of racist shootings we've seen in recent days and years. Highland Park, Buffalo, Christchurch, El Paso. The criminal is almost always a young white man. I'm raising two. Yeah, I'm raising 2 young white men. It's a horror to think that your kid could be a victim. It's a whole different kind of fear to think that your kid could be, I hardly want to write it down, a perpetrator, a racist, a sexist, a bigot, someone who could even be susceptible to those ideas. I know, get your fainting salts.
It's like, if you're a good parent, you don't have to worry about that, which means you think you're not a good parent. So that tells me everything.
Yeah. Because we know where a lot of these ideas come from. They are part of the online world that our kids frequent. I'm not even talking about the places that openly identify themselves as homes for white supremacy. I'm talking about Roblox, YouTube, all the gaming platforms, and social media.
Oh no, not Roblox!
Oh Jesus!
Is that where ISIS is recruiting from these days?
So YouTube is so conservative.
Yeah. This is
Oh,
just
okay, but he
amazing.
has a point though. No. I will give him this. He has a point. Basically, the point being that, hey, parent your kids, know what know what they're doing online. Put in blocks. His kids are 8 and 11. What are they doing on any social media platform? First of all, what are they doing on most gaming platforms that are connected to the internet beyond like kid stuff? Maybe I'm showing my parentage here because like I was never allowed on these things until I was older. But like whatever. I don't even know what these days. Don't give them money to buy Roblox bucks.
Hey, Timmy,
really, whatever.
do you
like
like
what the hell?
Gladiator
It's
movies?
not. But I have no kids, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Latchkey kids, man. Latchkey kids.
Yeah.
Goddamn Gen Xers. I'm kidding.
So I called an expert, Christine Saxman, talks to parents and teachers about this stuff all the time. She lives in a van down by the river. She's been doing racial and social justice facilitation for about 20 years. And the first thing I have to communicate to you is don't panic. What I found was surprisingly empowering. You should give Saxman money, right? Here are the top tips that Saxman gave me, and I have to say, things are already a lot calmer at my home. You're the only one upset. The calm is all inside your head. It's that little progressive hamster wheel of bullshit that's inside your head. That's where all the strife is.
You have built your own monster. This is Moby Dick. God dang.
Learn the signs of radicalization.
Jesus.
Be particularly aware if they are beginning to engage with humor that dehumanizes others, in particular gay, transphobic, and sexist jokes. Disguised as humor, it gives people with racist agendas plausible deniability because it's just a joke. And she goes on to talk about LGBTQIAAP joking and all this other stuff. Help your kids understand their own power. Oh, you're just going to be the most loved parent ever, aren't you? What helps, especially with older children, is encouraging them to recognize and develop their own agency. Shut up. Just let them play Roblox. Just let them play Roblox.
That's not what they're doing, though. They're not allowing them to create their own agency. Because if they allowed them to create their own agency, they'd go, so why do you think that joke wasn't that funny? And stuff
the
like
only
that.
Good part of this article is she does at least say, I think it's a woman, says, don't just push your kids away. Actually keep talking to them. Even if they freak your little liberal NPR brain out, maybe you should actually just not push your kids away, and because then you'll have no influence at all.
Shocker.
Yeah, this is a terrible, terrible article.
Actually parent your child. What a thought.
Yeah. Talk to other parents so you can basically go Karen all the other parents of the kids that are friends with your kid. That'll make them popular.
Every kid will hate you. And
Bobby, what did your mom say to my mom?
We just talked about Roblox. Dude, you're not playing at my house anymore. Get out.
I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, really. I'm going to shove your head in a toilet and give you a swirly. Like,
So you want to make fun of some celebrities?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Western United States. Maybe Nevada's most
loud.
critical challenge, both
Really?
now
Okay, hold on.
and in the
Better?
future. Hello, and thanks
Perfect.
for joining us tonight live
I think it
at
was
6.
the
I'm Trisha
music.
Keene. And some are working to
It was
conserve
good.
water, but officials say others are simply using too much, draining Las Vegas of an increasingly scarce resource. And tonight, 13 Chief Investigator Darcy Spears continues with her
Good job,
revealing
Darcy.
look at the top water users here in our valley.
Yesterday, we told you about the top commercial water users in the valley. Tonight, we focus on water where you live.
These
Residential
assholes.
properties in Las Vegas, Henderson, and North Las Vegas. You might guess those who use the most water are a who's who of Las Vegas, from the super rich to superstars.
The vast majority of those residential highest water users are using more water in a single month than the average household uses in an entire year.
You heard that right. More water in 1 month than most of us use in a year.
We find that water use to be extremely egregious.
Yeah, that's not even as bad as all that. But some of these, the thing is, some of these houses are actually empty. You know, they're just like show houses for architects. There's not even anybody in there, and they're using water for water features.
And that type of water use really can no longer continue in our community.
Bronson Mack with the Las Vegas Valley Water District says the average home uses about 120,000 gallons of water a year. The highest residential water user in Las Vegas consumes over 100 times that amount. Let's dive into the list. The most recent data is from 2021. Sitting in the top spot, the nearly 16-acre property in Spanish Gates with ties to the Sultan of Brunei. That home used
of
over
course.
13 million gallons last.
They don't. He won't give a shit. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's not gonna care. Why do I care about your little water? I'm a king.
It's like, I come from an actual desert, you assholes. Go to hell. Like, I'll pay whatever fine you want.
They will drain the last drop out of any of their citizens that they consider are lower than dirt. They're not gonna care.
I know.
You sold the property to them. You unfortunately
you gotta deal with this shit,
are stuck with them.
Morons. God.
Okay, Sora's hot take.
Last year, nearly 1 million more than was used in 2020. The property manager declined to comment, citing a non-disclosure agreement.
Good man.
Mansion belonging to the late Sheldon Adelson in the exclusive TPC Summerlin community used just over 10 million gallons in 2021. A spokesperson for the family told us they did not want to comment.
I think Sheldon with his banana hammock out by the pool. You know, Sheldon likes to swim. It's a thing. But I love they're just sort of naming and shaming all these people. Because we're at this point where stuff is becoming a limited resource, right? So now it's time to start naming and shaming and pointing fingers and going, you know, the reason I have to take 90-second showers is because Sheldon Edelstein doesn't give a shit about how much water he puts in his pool.
Well, maybe if those assholes in California hadn't done the
Oh wait, we're gonna get to California. We're gonna get to California.
Is that those who have a lot of
close your closet
10 million gallons. It belongs to John Lagerling, CEO of e-commerce company Mercari. We reached out to Lagerling to ask why water use at the home nearly doubled after he bought it in 2021. Lagerling did not return our call.
Long
On
baths.
that same street in
That's his me
TPC
time.
is the home in 4th place. That belongs to Lorenzo Fertitta of Station Casinos. 9.5 million gallons.
These people are all pretty much what you'd expect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there some rando? Is there just like some fucking rando?
And Steve, like I don't know, Smith's family, who happen to have 14 kids, and they all leave the taps running.
They're the plumbers of Las Vegas.
Well, Las Vegas is in the freaking desert, right?
Yeah.
So whatever water they get has to be brought in from somewhere else. It's the desert.
They're shaming people who don't care. That's the problem.
Yeah, they
Because
don't
even
give
if
a crap.
you find them, they're like, why would I care, right? Like, I don't
Find
think
me,
there's a
motherfucker.
fine big enough that's in the law that even the maximum fine isn't going to do anything.
Well, there is a thing they can do to them. More
Turn off
foreshadowing.
the water?
So California, as I've pointed out, is not in great shape. Right now,
Las Vegas has
water.
Lake Mead, to be fair.
Yes.
Well, for now.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
it's a lake. It will always be there.
The
Lakes
amount
don't
of
just disappear.
Yeah, the amount of drought that's in California is just terrible, and parts of Southern California are even worse off. Water use is just bad. Surface water's bad. Well, below the surface water's bad. It's all particularly bad. But celebrities like Kim Kardashian. Let's see how things are going where the rich people live in Southern California.
This was on our news.
Yeah.
Was it?
Here. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, so now we're in my backyard.
But some celebrities failing to play their part. Properties
What
belonging to
happened to
Kim
her
and Kourtney
butt?
Kardashian using a combined excess
Swollen.
of
Probably
333,000
stings.
gallons of water, enough to fill up half of an
BBL.
Olympic-sized swimming pool. A Calabasas home belonging to actor Kevin Hart exceeding its monthly budget 519% in June. Sylvester Stallone's $18 million home guzzling up more than 533% more than its allotment, and former NBA star Dwayne Wade and actress Gabrielle Union using up a whopping 1,400% of the water budget at their Hidden Hills homes. The couple telling the LA Times.
So now we're going through and naming and shaming.
Stop. He went on the red carpet without a T-shirt.
It's
Can't see his
the
tattoos
Met.
otherwise.
That's Met. That's the Met Gala. So they were doing the Gilded Age bullshit, and he
That's
failed.
still ratchet as fuck.
Oh, I know
That-
it is, but
That is a straight hairline.
yeah, it's called Painted In.
Damn.
But no, the really funny thing is that these people who are the biggest users, if I remember their numbers right, the actual gallons they used, they still use less than the Las Vegas people did.
Well,
Like,
that's
they were still
the difference
100,000.
between here and Las Vegas. The Las Vegas people don't give a shit, right? And
Oh,
these
yeah.
people have an image to maintain, so they're actively trying to do damage control in some cases, except for Kim Kardashian, who didn't even bother to respond. Stallone said that there was a problem with his irrigation system. He has a lot of established mature trees that need water or they're all going to die. And there was a problem with the irrigation system. It's like, fine, see, I'll fix it. It won't be an issue. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. But Edelstein and all these other people in Vegas, the Sultan of Brunei, he doesn't give a shit. You're absolutely right. So you ask, what can they do? And here's the answer.
Like when we were kids, first come a couple of warnings, then fines, then water districts will slap a regulator on your water main. I think we've got a picture of one. These will slow down the flow to your house to basically a trickle. So high water pressure for those fancy mansions, forget about it. They keep them on for 2 weeks or until the owner promises
they'll
to
never
comply.
bypass those.
If they don't, Tom, then you're water grounded for a month. So as far as we know, about 20 homes with the most egregious violations have those installed, but no celebrities that we know of have yet made that list. So we'll keep.
I can tell you in previous droughts, I would see occasional instances where there'd just be like these slightly crazy old women, who would, as part of their routine, they would get up and overwater their garden and then get out their hose and then spray down all of their concrete and do this like every single morning. And they would occasionally have to go put these flow restrictors on these things because it was almost like a mental problem with these people that they would just pathologically overwater their gardens and obsess over them. I think because that was like their outlet, it was like a transference sort of thing. I know I shouldn't try to armchair psychoanalyze these people. I'm just trying to make sense of why it's almost always like women of a certain age wearing house coats, that are out in their garden doing this shit.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible human being. Skep knows what I'm talking about.
No, yep. No, you hit it right on the head.
Screw these people. Yeah, so we're at the point now where we're bickering over the water supply.
I thought, now correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but I thought more mature trees stood a better chance in drought than less mature trees because the roots
They
go
do.
deeper.
They do.
Okay. That
They do.
was my issue with the Stallone argument. I'm like, wait a damn minute.
I put in a couple apricot trees, and I keep a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket in the shower, and when I start the shower, there's about 2 gallons of water before anything comes out that I'm not, that I can shower in, because I don't feel like showering in cold water. I mean, I'll do it, but it's not really by choice.
You won't take a cold shower for Greta?
I take the 2 gallons of water that's below, what my tender body is willing to put up with, and I use that to go out and water the plants.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that people could kind of do, like gray water systems and all this other stuff.
Wow.
That these people, the rich people at least, have the ability to put in. We all know they're never going to do it, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's the thing, like, I don't understand why there are so many pools in Southern California when droughts have been a pretty consistent thing, at least in the last like 20 to 30 years. Like, I understand houses that are like 50 plus years old. I understand there being pools because they didn't have a drought then. But if it was like, there's so many houses in Southern California, because yes, I am one of those weirdos who runs around on like realty sites and looks at shit that were built in the last 10 years that have pools. And yet you've been in a drought for why? Why do you have a pool?
I am qualified to answer this question, Serenity.
Go for it.
Okay, historically speaking, here's where my Northern California prejudice comes in, because I'm gonna be a bit of a dick about this.
Do it.
These people built this city in the freaking desert, and they have deals with, the Colorado River goes through several states, and it's right on the border of California. Southern California, LA in particular, has had historically a deal to get a lot of water from the Colorado River. So even though Southern California is a freaking desert, all of these other states that the Colorado River passes through weren't. And there was a ton of water in that river. We used to have a ton of snowfall in the Sierras, which would go melt and go down into the Sacramento River, and it would go into the Delta, where there's a huge canal which basically takes that water and moves it to LA. So they have these massive systems for importing water from outside. Hasn't been a problem. Historically, between the snowpack and the Colorado River, 95% of the time they can have their stupid swimming pools, and it's not a big deal. The problem is that the climate is changing in California. We're entering a much drier period, long-term speaking. The snowpacks are nowhere near what they have been most years. And the Colorado River, all through the Southwest, there hasn't been a lot of rainfall. So a lot of that water that would be coming from Idaho and Colorado and all these other places is just not there in the Colorado River. And then in a previous show, I mentioned that they had a chance to build a desalination plant, and they decided to vote it down because they're idiots.
Yes, agreed on that one.
Yeah, so they need to be smarter about things like using pool covers to keep the evaporation down. They need to rethink a lot of things about what kind of plants are there. You know, having a green lawn is stupid. You know, you can still have your pool. You just have to be smart about it.
Well, it's like the celebrities, they live behind gates anyway that you can't see over it. You can have beautiful, like, native prairie things, like flowers and trees and stuff like that, that are drought resistant, that still look as pretty, and you'll be fine. Like, it's kind of like, it just feels like sometimes they want to live like they live on the East Coast, but they don't want to accept the fact that they don't have the same amount of water as the East Coast does.
Yeah,
like,
no
that's what
freaking
it feels like. Because I'm like, as you've described my state, it looked like the Grinch. We have a lot of green here, and so we're used to it. Like, I don't have to water the damn lawn. There's no sprinklers in this neighborhood. Nobody I know has sprinklers because we don't need them. It's just it's just kind of, it's just, I don't understand, like, houses, like I said, that were built in the last, like, 10 to 15 years having pools. Like I said, older houses I understand because they didn't have that issue. But 10 to 15 years, like, y'all been having droughts, and I've been hearing people talk about it for decades at this point. Like, why are you still building pools? Why are you still building green lawns? Like, why are you doing that?
Well, the pools are not, like I said, they're not that big a deal. If they're properly maintained, if they don't leak, and you know, you have a pool cover when you're not using them, they really don't lose that much water. But water features and those green lawns use a ton of water. It's like, if you're not playing golf, you probably don't need a green lawn in California.
Well, there's also drought-resistant grasses that actually do very well usually, and don't usually brown too much. If you
this is a favorite conversation of men of a certain age.
I'm sorry, I find this stuff interesting because, like, Southern California's idiosyncratic tendencies drive me nuts. It's like, I've seen, I don't know how many YouTubers with wood-burning fireplaces that live in Southern California that their house is only like 3 years old. I'm like, you have wildfires, motherfucker. Why do you have a wood-burning fireplace?
King of the Hill was not far off from my experience when you talk about, like, men in their lawns and droughts.
Yeah.
I love that show. Anyway, this dropped, which I think probably a lot of people, I know there's a lot of people that are not on board with the global climate change stuff. So there was this declaration, the World Climate Declaration, which was signed by a whole bunch of people, right? My issue with this is not necessarily the conclusion, because there was that Swedish gentleman, was Bjorn Lundberg, who was on, who makes a lot of really interesting points. The same thing with Michael Schellenberger. My issue with this declaration that they made is, I don't really care how many signatures you have of people on this thing. They don't actually prove anything in this declaration. Correct. They just go, nope, here it is. This is all bullshit. You don't be a sheeple. And then they just sort of sign their name to it like this proves anything. It doesn't. This is just talking points with no anything to sort of back it up. And I'm like, just be better.
There's a lot of this kind of evidence, quote unquote, out there right now, and it's being cited by both sides.
Yeah, I mean, natural as well as anthropogenic factors cause warming. Okay, so we basically this is the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? So just cast doubt on this part of it. Warming is slower than predicted. Okay, that's an interesting statement. More doubt. Climate policy relies on inadequate models. More doubt. Not backing any of it up, mind you, just making a statement. And then, of course, the one that tells me that these people are not really on the same caliber as Lumberg and Schellenberg. CO2 is plant food, the basis of all life on Earth. Okay. Sure. That really doesn't have anything to do with this, though. This is just a stupid... I'm like, I want to see I want there to be a vigorous discussion of things, but this is a huge nothing burger from the skeptics.
Yeah. Why did anybody make the point about CO2 right there? That has nothing to do in this discussion.
Yeah. It's almost as relevant as pointing out that, we use argon and xenon in fluorescent light fixtures. I mean, okay, it's really not the issue here.
True as far as it goes.
Yeah. There's water vapor in the atmosphere too, and part of your body is composed of water. It's I don't know, it's the same kind of thinking as people saying don't go to Subway because they use chemicals that are used in yoga mats in the bread. It's like, okay, again, technically true, but really not much to the point. Did any of you hear about this, or is this just such a nothing burger that nobody's even talking about it?
Wait, where can I get the yoga mat bread?
Subway.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
More than what I bargained for.
Chemicals, man. They're everywhere in all the things.
You want to do some chemicals, man?
Yeah. There's chemicals in my food.
Puff some paint and wash it down with a Subway sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is ridiculous. Like I said, there's people who do a really good job at this sort of stuff, like Lumberg. Fantastic job. And then there's people like this that, in my opinion, do a disservice to their side of the argument. This is such shoddy work, and there's so little to it that they are moving their side of the argument backwards with this kind of shoddy crap.
I agree with you.
That's just my opinion.
They're not helping their case at all.
Yeah, bastards. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Oh yes, weather phenomenon. Rare rainbow clouds spotted over Virginia. That looks pretty cool.
Ooh, very pretty.
Yeah. Because it's fun what happens with water drops and light. So they talk about this stunning weather phenomenon, so-called rainbow cloud. I've seen some pretty cool things. This is really nice, but there was a much better one that happened in China just a few days before. And they took it off the weather.com site for some reason. Hopefully I'm not going to get in too much trouble, because here's a copy of that video.
Wow.
Oh, that is so cool.
So we can kill the music. Sorry, I can't readily make this a lot bigger. But look at this thing.
That is very neat.
Yeah, it is.
That's pretty cool. Doom, doom, doom,
Yeah.
doom, doom.
China's like, hold my Tsingtao.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that is pretty neat. I like that phenomenon. But anytime you see something cool like that in the sky, whether it's sundogs or any of that sort of stuff, it's just like, take some time and look up, people. It's pretty cool. Let's see. We have one more section to go. Oh yeah, animals. Animals are kind of dicks. Let's look at this. Right.
They can be.
They can be. Okay, so what about these dodgy bastards?
Tussling. Whoa, wrestling in the wild. There they go. Ah!
Oh!
Who opened that gate? Who left that gate? This is two kangaroos. Look at them. They caught on camera. All out battling Australian earlier this week.
Just like a boss. Like a boss.
It's so funny. You can see the expression of the one that falls through his face, like, oh, what the hell?
The sad thing is, I can hear Aussie Man's head and voice in my head. You know, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, Sora, this is the moment you've been waiting for. This is all you. The ocean sunfish, or common mola, is one of the heaviest known bony fishes in the world. Adults weigh between 247 and 1,000 kilograms. Babies, well, they
look at the little babies.
There's the big, ugly, stupid one.
And look at the babies.
Sunfish.
Oh my god. Okay, that's so cute. How can you look at that and not think they're adorable?
Oh, I do think they're adorable, but I think they aged about as well as Ava Gardner. They got old and really weird looking very quickly.
No. Leave the poor sunfish alone.
I just like making remarks about Ava Gardner.
That's a good insight about Ava Gardner, actually.
She aged like room temperature milk.
Yeah. She went to hell in a hurry.
Oh.
When the sunfish are tiny and they're not actually terrible. I don't hate them yet, but as soon as they grow up, I hate them.
Oh.
But they are fairly cute before they get big and ugly.
What is that?
That's Dr. Fauci.
That's your sunfish again.
Is that a baby?
It's a baby.
That's so weird.
It is. But he grows up to be so ugly and useless.
His eyes remind me of Fauci. This could be Dr.
Looks a
Fish.
little sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks a little sad. He looks a little wistful, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's because he knows he's going to grow up to be useless.
I'm a sunfish. Fuck. Lost that reincarnation lottery.
Yeah. It sucks being me. Anyway, I wouldn't dare talk about this if you weren't here, Sora. I figured you'd enjoy the sunfish.
Yes.
You probably just want to eat them, don't you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't like looking. Most fish aren't very appetizing to look at.
Okay. I'll bet he's delicious. He's all tender.
Well, you know what's good eating? Blue whale. They're rare. So, you gotta. It's expensive, but
smart food for smart people.
That is.
Yeah. But anyway,
It's a
there's
whale
your
of a
little
dish.
baby sunfish. Eat those damn things. Oh wait, I guess I have to play the graphic. There we go.
So, a fish from hell.
All right.
So, according to afellowfisherman.com, let's see here. Sunfish have a light flavor similar to that of herring or sardines. It can be eaten raw or cooked, but must be very fresh because it spoils quickly after being caught. They're safe to consume on a regular basis and do not contain a high number of toxins. As always, be careful of consuming too much fish, especially if you're pregnant. Sunfish are a good source of protein and contain omega-3 fatty acids, which are beneficial for heart health. They also have decent levels of folate and potassium. Apparently, to their knowledge, and this is an article from 2019, so it may have changed, it is legal to eat sunfish, but it probably varies from place to place. There we go.
And wash it down with some raw milk.
So if anybody is interested, I will share that.
I was just looking up to see how much mercury they leached.
Excuse me.
You're really not our last half full guy tonight.
I'll tell you what, it's just yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Looks like they're kind of in about in the middle of the pack. So
they're mostly just bone anyway. You can't do
overall larger and longer lived fish tend to contain more mercury because they have longer to accumulate it. And that's why sharks and swordfish and the marlin, sawfish and all that stuff, the ones that grow for a long time, have a lot of mercury in them. I just was wanted to look it up, but it's middle of the pack. It's above average in amount of mercury, but it's okay to eat if you like eating ugly fish.
Yeah, I've spent a fair amount of time staring at the charts of how much mercury is in different kinds of fish. You can, by just picking a different type of tuna, spare yourself an awful lot of mercury. It just requires a little bit of attention if you're somebody who eats a lot of fish. Or you could just eat a lot of it and not worry about it. I really do like hamachi.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about one of my favorite fish. That's why it just about kills me when Sora sends me these pictures of her hamachi carpaccio and all this other fancy stuff that you get to eat. Yeah.
Neat.
Sora's a fancy girl.
Sounds like it.
We actually had that recently.
Oh, good.
And they had some blue tuna here as well, which is we don't get it as often. So when it's on menus, it is the best tuna.
It can be. They catch a lot of that down by Santa Barbara here. And it's good as sashimi. It's also really good grilled, if you know what you're doing, over oak. There's a place I like to go that gets it fresh from Santa Barbara, and they grill it over oak, and it gets just a really nice flavor. And then they just serve it with like a little chimichurri sauce on the side. But I usually have them just give me some wasabi and soy sauce. And damn, that's a fine meal. I probably have a picture of it somewhere. But yeah, eat all the fish. And don't worry about the mercury within reason. There's too many other things to worry about in your life, honestly.
Yeah. Now, let's say this about that. Pregnant women, because of the way mercury behaves and its ability to potentially cross what's called the placental barrier, pregnant women should be careful about eating certain types of fish. Just as a caveat, Minions of the Zoo does not endorse pregnant women just willy-nilly eating all kinds of
Minions of the Zoo does not endorse pregnant women. Full stop.
Yeah, full stop. Exactly.
That's right.
Just leave it at that. Oh, fuck it.
Yeah. You guys know pregnant women. Yeah, I was trying to see if I have an image of that. We were going to do a food show on Tuesday, but none of the food people really showed up to do the food conversation. So I just showed pictures of regrettable food from the 70s and tortured donkey.
And I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, we had a good time at his expense.
Had a good time at everyone's expense. If you want to go by.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it as the audience.
Amazed you did some of the worst clothing.
So it's not the best picture, but this is what it looks like when you take that tuna and grill it. Sadly, you can't see the inside of it, but it's the smokiness actually works really well, and they don't overcook it, which is what's beautiful about it.
That looks good to me.
Yeah. We don't need to name what the place is, but Skep knows where that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know exactly where it is.
I know you know. Good stuff. All right, so we have two more items. Scroll up here. So Shauna Marin, I think that's how her name is pronounced, Finland's prime minister, went out, and she's fairly young. She's a young, attractive woman. And she went out and was partying, and people took pictures or video of her partying. And
I think she took the video of it because it's very like she can see the camera, because I've seen some of the video of it.
It's very selfish. I agree, Serenity.
Yeah.
But it's very weird because when she does her job, she's on the ball. I mean, she reads all the briefs. She's not a gaffe machine. She knows where she is at all times, as far as I can tell. She doesn't fall going upstairs. She's generally, I mean, I'm leaving her politics out of it because that's not really the issue, but she's generally not a hot mess. like certain other world leaders happen to be.
Maybe we could get her to be president of our country.
But she's young enough that she still has like a social life and goes out and does stuff. And some people seem to be having trouble grasping this. Like I'm offended. It's like, okay, well, what did you expect with a 30-something good-looking female prime minister, that she was just going to stay home and knit things to put in her hope chest? I mean, what was the expectation here? And I don't understand why people are so bent out of shape about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's because they have nothing else. Like you said, she does her job. The thing is like, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, as long as she's not putting her security detail in a precarious position, because I'm sure she has a security detail, and she's not like saying stuff about like other world leaders or other leaders in the other party in the video, like slandering them, let the girl get drunk and party with her friends. Go to hell, guys. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. She's not embarrassing herself. She's a better dancer than I am. Have a good time.
She just looks goofy. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Didn't really think I'd be getting a whole lot of pushback from you guys on this. I just don't understand why anybody's upset about this. Maybe it's just not the prime minister-like behavior that they're used to.
Yeah, there's some people who think there is just a certain amount of dourness that should accompany leadership of a serious nation, and she failed to show that dourness, and people might be losing confidence in her for that reason. It's a shitty thing. It's a dumb thing to happen for a shitty reason, but it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't particularly have an issue with her. Gosh, what was it? I've seen her interviewed a few times and show up on a few things. Somebody feed Phil, the sort of food travelogue thing that's on Netflix, which I rather enjoy.
Yeah.
He actually went to Finland and got a brief bit of time with her. It's good PR for her. She actually took the time to meet up with him and talk about, you know, what it's like to be in Finland and food and family and all that sort of stuff. I mean, she took time out of her schedule. I know it's not like it's probably easier to run Finland than it is to run California. Okay.
I would assume so.
I would assume so, but still, it's a big deal that she took time out of her schedule to do that. And she seems okay. I mean, she's probably got a whole bunch of political ideas that I would find terrible. So just leaving that aside for the time being. But, you know, I don't see the issue. If you want to if you don't want somebody to dance, don't get any hot 30-something-year-old prime ministers from now on. Just get some older people that'll throw a hip if they try to do this. You know, somebody with a little bit of arthritis, or maybe some gout. Yeah, definitely get a guy with some gout.
Yeah, the guy can't even put his sock on.
that'll stop the dancing. Gout.
Fucking hurts, man.
I know. Okay. All right. And finally, surprising no one, Google liked DuckDuckGo signs secret deal with Bill Gates to track users online. Well, this is kind of a shit tier article in some ways, but it does raise an interesting point. DuckDuckGo does not run their own search engines. They do not go out and scour the web and then generate their own database. They have no crawling
engine.
They get results from Bing, and then they repackage them.
Right? I didn't know that.
So what you think is going to happen is you're going to make a search through DuckDuckGo, and it's going to use their proprietary search engine and get you the different results without Bing and all these people knowing about it. The reality is that Bing doesn't stomp them out of existence because they are using Bing's resources. They allow that traffic to pass through non-anonymized when ads and things get recommended. So when you're using DuckDuckGo and it returns something from Bing, Bing is able to see all the stuff as if you were using Bing. That's sort of the short version of it. And why anybody is surprised, it's like, well, how do you think DuckDuckGo pays for all this stuff?
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, eh.
What did you think was happening? You know, it's like food just keeps coming out of the Soylent Green factory, and I see people show up for work, but fewer people come out, but I don't know what they're making the Soylent Green out of. I don't know. People? Yeah. So it's sort of like that, except it's a search engine. So I don't get why people are surprised by this. But, you know, I clearly don't understand a lot of things based on tonight's show. I just, like, these are just things that confused me this week. So if you... Go ahead, sorry.
Well, it's just, I think it's just the usual thing of, like, even people who distrust stuff still blindly trust some things. So, like, because if you're using DuckDuckGo, there's a part of you that doesn't fully trust something. But they still blindly trusted DuckDuckGo to not lie to them. And it's kind of like, as much as I hate to say it, and as terrible as it sounds, as jaded as it sounds, because Harry's called me jaded a couple times, which is not wrong. No one, nothing is trustworthy. You have to make a decision of whether that's a big enough no-go for you or if it's not. If you want to be secretive about it, you get a VPN that you control and that you don't have anybody else control for you, and use Tor. That's the only way it's going to happen. And even then, there may be something down the pipe. But truthfully, don't buy Surfshark or whatever the fuck or any of that crap. Get your own VPN. They're not that hard. And use Tor if you really want to be that secretive. That's how you have to do it. Don't trust any of this shit. Never trust any of this shit. Take it as someone who used to work for a major internet service provider. I could see everything. And I wasn't even that tech savvy when I started. So,
oh, yeah.
Hell, I even knew how to set up and tying this back around to the Hillary thing. I learned within the first month of how to set up an email server and everything like that. It's not that hard. It really isn't.
Especially if you don't bother to set up an SSL encryption for it as well. Because Hillary ran her email server without SSL encryption.
What?
For mails coming in or for accessing the mails. You got that right. No, she was using her BlackBerry to connect to Clinton Mail with no encryption.
Holy shit.
Now, they did change that partway through because even she realized that was a problem, but they ran for a while with no encryption.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm amazed that hasn't gotten dealt with.
I have read all of the FBI report on this thing, and I have to say it was a pretty entertaining read.
You know, I once did, this was early on, this like 1998, on a consulting gig. I once told the person, I said, you know, you're sending your passwords to your email server in plain text. No, we're not. We're sending it through the internet. No. That's not, that's not germane. And she said, well, then I'll log in and you just tell me what my password is. Well, I was, running like Wireshark. And I said, okay. I set up capture buffer, captured passwords, and then wrote down her password on a piece of paper and handed it to her. Scared the shit out of her. That was at the Hibernia National Bank in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to do stuff like that to get people's attention.
Yep.
Because they just don't believe you.
Yeah, God, not running SSL.
But even then, I even learned how to do the SSL because an IT person walked me through it. So I learned quite a lot. But like I'm not surprised someone was arrogant enough who worked for her to go, no, you'll be fine.
This thing about setting up stuff like that, none of it's hard, but all of it's obscure.
Yes. Because I actually had to ask the very nice IT person to tell me. So I was like, hey, we have to sit here and wait for the modem to boot back up, and it's going to take a while. Can you answer questions for me? And he was like, yeah, sure. I was like, all right, here we go. Because I have no shame.
No. Some intellectual curiosity, that's for sure.
But it's just like, and as Geodes pointed out in the comments, like some people are looking into the Brave the web browser. There's the word. And I'm like, I'm sure they're going to find skeletons in Brave's closet. All of them have skeletons. I have no doubt in my mind. I still like Brave, but I completely accept the fact that the shit I search on this thing is not hidden. I completely accept that fact. Like I said, if you're going to go hardcore, y'all, you actually have to go for a VPN and a Tor. That's what you're going to have to do. Otherwise, you know. Just no. Oh,
Yeah.
Billy Gates, just digging a hole, man. Just digging a hole.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to... I can just show you this. Let me do
Gates
this
really
here.
does look like Kermit.
Top 10 VPNs that support liberty and protect your privacy. None of them.
Yes, exactly.
If you have to pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee, they don't protect your privacy. And all of them are owned by China, or not all of them, but most of them are owned by China by some down the pipeline thing. Like, come now, really?
Yeah, I mean, mail servers are not that complicated. Here,
No,
I
they're
made a
not.
chart. This is for my own edification. This is how I set up mail servers.
Yeah.
So I just wrote this, I put together this little diagram, and it actually says where the certificates go, and this is how I keep myself from going insane when I have to work on mail servers. So this is just something I created for myself. It's not particularly complicated once you write it all down.
No,
If Hillary Clinton wants me to make her a new mail server, I will.
The way it was explained to me was that they were like, kind of think about it as a freight system where you got to move info back and forth, and you got to have certain rails to go certain places, but certain rails can only go certain ways or in certain paths, and so that's how I kind of always looked at them. I know it's not the best analogy, but that was the one that works for me, where it goes to certain stations and all that kind of stuff. It's the only way my brain works, because I am that hillbilly.
Well, it's like any other piece of software. You know, you've got multiple components that fit together. So there's like one thing that receives the mail from outside. There's another thing that filters the mail. There's another thing that you use to read the mail that's in your mailbox. And then there's another thing which accepts the mail from you that you want to send back out to people. And each of these things has to all work. And you ideally want all of them that involve a password to be encrypted. So sending your password in plain text is, if somebody hacks into a router anywhere along the line, they can just read that stuff. And given that some of those things were classified and above top secret, is just terrifying. So it's impossible to say whether a foreign adversary read any of that mail. But you know what you can say? That the documents that were moved by the GSA to Mar-a-Lago that have been under appropriate guardianship, locked up, you know, with Secret Service people around on the grounds, those aren't being read by foreign actors. Hillary Clinton's emails could easily have been read by those actors because it was never supposed to be in that email system, and they were incompetent the way they ran it. So it's just like problem on top of problem on top of problem.
Yeah.
Trump's doesn't represent a threat to national security. Full stop.
What's like also, considering how much certain people allegedly lie, how do we know someone didn't take a physically didn't take a mail server out of the house at some point when they weren't there? And just
Probably would have noticed if the mail server disappeared, since she was connected to it with her BlackBerry.
I'm sure her IT person may have noticed it, but if no one was there to stop them, that's what I mean.
They subpoenaed a lot of this stuff, and after the subpoenas went out, they accidentally cleaned up the server and accidentally took a hammer to a number of those devices that were subpoenaed. Can you imagine what would happen to a normal human being who had a subpoena issued for like their phone and an email server, and instead they got destroyed?
Can you imagine what would happen to Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my thing, is like, we all know what would happen if Trump did it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's
He
just
would have had it
crazy.
out.
Have we lost Skep?
Skep.
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
That's okay.
Sorry,
we're basically
It's getting a little late.
we're basically done, so I think we
Yeah.
should probably wrap it up.
I'm
Final
sorry
thoughts?
about that. That's really
No, don't worry
rude.
about it.
Oh,
No,
you're
I was gonna mute you right away. So what's
Sorry about
so let's say goodnight to Skep. Good night,
Good
Skep.
night, Skep.
Go get teepees.
And I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody else if nobody's got anything.
Nope, I got
Uh,
nothing.
We're good?
Don't
Good night,
trust
guys.
anybody or anything.
There you go.
That's right.
The
Life
way to live
lies.
life.
Everybody lies. Everybody
Exactly.
lies. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good
Seat's
night.
closed.
Friday night.